So, hey, I was telling you before we went on air, I'm starting my own kids show. It's called the ABCs of Fitness, and I was wondering if I get your help.
Sure.
Today, I have the letter E, right? And I'm struggling a little bit. I'm talking to 5-year-olds, talking to 8-year-olds. I don't know what word starts with the letter E that I can use. What do you think?
I think a great word is effort.
Oh, I like it. I like it. Yeah, effort's great. I was thinking that. Uh, what do you think about this? What do you think about evidence? Is evidence a good one?
Evidence is a great one. I like that.
That sounds like the theme of this episode. Brick Headstrong! Brick Headstrong! He's got the reps to you! He's got the reps to you! Brick Headstrong! Lauren, hey, welcome to Reppin Fitness.
Thank you.
Now, I gotta ask, have you been to the gym today?
Not yet, but I will go later today.
Yeah, it's pretty early. This is the earliest interview I've ever done.
Oh, yeah? Are you a night owl?
I'm a night owl, yeah. I go to the gym in the morning. I already went. I got some back and buys in, as I do. But do you remember the first time you ever went to the gym?
I do. I think I was too intimidated to lift weights, so I used the
really?
elliptical.
Why is that?
I think at the time it was all dudes in the weight room, and so I was afraid to do something wrong, and I didn't want to ask for help.
Yeah, that's true. I understand. Now, has your viewpoint on that changed ever since, or no?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now I'm much more comfortable, and I encourage other people not to do what I did and try to get into the weight room any way you can.
Yeah, what's something they can do to feel a little bit less gym-timidated? You like that? Gym-timidated.
That's a great word.
Yeah.
I'd like machines for that. A lot of
Oh, yeah.
commercial gyms these days have a little circuit of machines that kind of hit all the major muscle groups. And I think that can be a really good place to start.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Now, I see you're a scientist. That's pretty cool. I've only interviewed one other scientist before. Only one other. But
Wow.
yeah. You focus in on evidence-based fitness for women. Can you tell me a little bit about how that started?
When I was getting really interested in science and muscle physiology and lifting weights, what I learned was there was a lot of data on men and not as much in women. So my goal was to try to do some of that research to bridge the gap and let's see, are there differences between how men and women should train or not?
Oh, so let me ask you this then. What's this Brick's hearing that fitness influencers are targeting women now? I was listening to a podcast yesterday that you were on, and you were talking about how workouts don't work anymore, and people need to do special fixes. We got to help them. What's really going on there? And how can women actually train as they get older?
Yeah, I see that women, especially women who are going through the menopause transition, so a little bit later in life, they're really being targeted by some of these influencers with a lot of misinformation.
Now, what's that?
So, with menopause, women are ending their reproductive cycles of life and they're shifting with some hormone changes into a new phase of life. And some people will have symptoms like hot flashes, and that can be really disruptive for their lives. And some women experience some changes in their body composition, and fitness is really important in order to maintain our muscle mass and our bone density as we age.
Now, do you have any science-backed reasons to change up what you're doing? Is there proof to that? Is it true? Should they change the way they work out?
No, the same strategies that work when you're younger also work when you're older, and all the basic principles of training work the same ways for men and for women.
Interesting. Now, you mentioned hot flashes, right? Are there other common warning signs women experience?
Sometimes poor sleep, sometimes mood disturbances, things like brain fog, even
Right.
depression. So there can be a whole host of symptoms that some women experience. And that's really due to these big hormone shifts that can happen for a year, even for a couple of years.
Oh. Now, are there key nutrition tips older women should follow to help with their muscle and bone strength after getting into menopause?
Well, having sufficient protein is
Oh,
important
yeah.
because we know lifting weights is that stimulus, but the protein will optimize our results. So we want to make sure that we have enough protein and enough fiber and just a general healthy diet, but there's no menopause specific diet.
Oh, okay, okay. What do you think most women are missing around that age?
I think most women are really worried about fat loss and maybe not
Fat
focused
loss.
enough on muscle growth. And so there's not enough women who are lifting weights at all.
That's a good point. I think fat loss is a big problem for everybody, though. Everybody across the board. They think that cardio is going to fix it all. What do you
Right.
think? If I want to lose some weight, right? I want to lose some fat. I got cardio. I can lift. I can eat right. What do you think actually works here? Cardio? Lifting weights? Do I just fix my diet? Can one work without the others? I'm confused. There's a lot of options. What do you think?
The changes to your diet are going to make the biggest difference for fat loss. So,
Oh, you hear
cardio
that?
can be a little bit helpful, but nowhere near as helpful as when you change your diet.
Oh, what kind of change are we talking? Like I can't eat out fast food anymore, right? Or I shouldn't. What other
Well,
things?
being in a calorie deficit is important. So,
Oh,
we need to eat less overall. So, you can still eat fast food, but that might be so many calories that you won't be able to eat as much the rest of the day. So, we have to be mindful. It depends on how many calories you can eat and still lose the body fat.
now when I was watching that podcast yesterday, one of the things that came up, you mentioned calories in and calories out. But sometimes that doesn't work for females. Is that true?
This is not true.
Oh,
Calories
okay,
in,
okay.
calories out works for
Same
all of
thing.
us.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That was making me nervous. I've been giving out wrong advice. Now that I know that, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. It confirms I know what I'm talking about. That's good. But another thing that was brought up, because you said on your social media, you do social media versus science. And one of those things that caught my attention was creatine. Now, there's a lot of hype around creatine. People talking about it being good for your brain, being good for your muscles. How much of this is true? What do you think?
Well, creatine is effective if you're lifting weights. And let's say you can get a good set of 10.
Oh,
Maybe
yeah.
the
10
creatine
reps.
will help you get that 11th rep, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah, okay, okay. That
Which
makes sense.
that's good, but it's
Yeah.
not mind blowing.
No, no, not at all. What does it do for my
And
brain?
yeah, for the brain, the research there is in clinical populations. So people who have a traumatic brain injury or people who have Alzheimer's disease. And so there are some trials showing that high doses of creatine in combination with other treatments might be helpful for them. But that doesn't mean it's a brain booster for all of us.
Oh, oh, okay. Now, I've only ever used 5 grams. I saw people talking about 20. Is that a thing that you can do? Does that help at all?
Well, that is coming from this recent study in Alzheimer's patients where they were
Oh,
taking 20 grams. So I don't think there's really any evidence for us to be doing that and expecting some results. And it's also important to keep in mind that higher doses like that might give you some GI discomfort. And so
uh,
you might not feel well taking that much creatine.
no, I probably feel like bloated, right?
Yeah, yeah, and you can get some stomach cramps. It's not
Oh,
nice.
yeah, I don't want any of that. I don't want any of that. Is there an age limit to creatine?
No, creatine
No?
is safe and anybody can take it.
Anybody? Do you suggest it or no?
I suggest it if you're lifting weights and you want
Oh,
what might be an extra 1%, but I just think we need to be honest about the magnitude of the effect, and it's definitely being hyped up more than ever. And
oh yeah.
also, it's being sold to women differently, so packaged in a different way and being sold at a much higher price point, even though it's all the same.
What? How's that
Yeah.
happening?
They think, well, if we make it pink and we say it's creatine for women, then we can charge double. But you can really go to any supplement store or even on Amazon, and creatine monohydrate is the single ingredient that's in it. So
Yeah.
don't be fooled by these marketing schemes.
Yeah. We're going to get into it. We're going to get into all these marketing schemes. Let's talk about diet trends, right? There's a lot of them going on. There's always new ones. We got carnivore, keto, the Mediterranean one, vegan. What do you think about all this? Is it just a bunch of noise? Or are we just overcomplicating eating? Is there a benefit to eating one way over the other? Or no?
Well, I think some of these diet trends make it more difficult for us to maintain a healthy diet. So we
Oh, okay.
want all the micronutrients that we get from fruits and vegetables. And we also want to eat in a way that is sustainable. So a ketogenic diet might work for the short term, but is it sustainable for the long term? Any diet that cuts out a whole lot of foods, probably not a good long-term strategy.
No, probably not. Probably not. Now, another topic I was thinking about is supplements, right? People take supplements all the time. Sometimes they don't even need them. And then I heard from you, actually, that maybe taking too much of one thing might not be a good thing. Can you elaborate on that?
That's true. If we're taking a supplement, it should be either to replace a deficiency
Uh-huh.
or to address a particular concern that's relevant for us. And so if people are just taking a multivitamin or vitamin D and vitamin C and vitamin B, then we might not need those. And in some cases, if you have levels that are too high, that's not good either.
Oh, so I was going to ask, are there common foods that kind of help with the supplement? Like that you wouldn't need it and you think you need it? What do you think?
Yeah, we can cover most of our bases from just eating a well-rounded, nutritious diet.
Oh,
And for vitamin D, getting in some daily sunlight can be helpful
oh,
as well.
I get a lot of sun. So I probably don't even need a vitamin D pill.
Probably not, especially if you're always wearing that tank top.
Well, yeah, I do wear this a lot. I have it on all the time, actually. Do you think I'm going to get sunburned? I have some pretty light skin.
Sunscreen is very important.
Oh, yeah, I'll have to get some. I'll have to get some. Get it on Amazon or something. So, fasting, right? People are into fasting. Intermittent fasting is everywhere. But what are the real benefits? Are there actual benefits? Is it magic? Or just another add on?
It's definitely not magic.
Ah, I
We
was hoping I was a magician. Ah,
we talked earlier about how if you want to lose fat, you need to be in the calorie deficit. So
yeah,
if you're fasting and you're shortening that feeding window, that can be helpful because you can end up eating less because you're eating for fewer hours in the day. But that's the only reason it's beneficial for helping with a calorie deficit.
right. And then people go ahead, they say, I'm going to do this diet, and then they wait until they can start that diet. They go to the store, they buy all those things, all those foods that they want to eat, and they're holding themselves back from reaching their goals. Now, you were talking about weighted vests, right? And fitness fads. I was curious if you had any other fitness fads other than weighted vests to talk about before we get into weighted vests. Any other ones come up?
Well, I think you bring up a good point about needing to buy all of the things. I need these
Right.
new shoes, or I need
Oh,
this new
yeah.
clothes, and I need to get the membership, but I'm not actually making the decision to start and just do
Right.
something.
Right.
So I think just get started, just do something, and it's never going to be perfect, but once we build up the habit and we do the activity consistently, then that's when we start to see the benefits.
And then maybe that's when we need the weighted vest, right? Building up a habit first. I tried walking. Are there fads that are secretly useful?
Anything that gets you into fitness
Yeah, that's true.
can be
That's
useful,
true.
but I think sometimes we focus on these particular trends that on the long term aren't actually very helpful. So one example would be if you get a watch that is telling you how many calories you're burning,
Oh,
and you're really worried about that. And the weighted vest is another example. And if we get really, really focused on these tools, then sometimes we end up missing the focus on those big picture things that work, the consistency, the progression over time,
yeah.
and what are we doing that is going to get us towards our ultimate goal, whether it's building muscle or getting stronger, improving bone health, losing body fat.
Yeah, you got to get the reps. The more reps you get, the closer you get to your goals. It doesn't
That's
happen
right.
overnight. People want that 30-day fix, 60-day fix, 90 days sometimes. Sometimes 90 works. Sometimes 90 works, right? Or no?
It depends on the goal, but we
Yeah.
need to understand that adaptations take time. And so we have to be consistent and we have to be patient.
Yeah. A lot of people, or at least that I've seen, they try to overhaul their entire lives all at once. Their food intake, their workouts, the way they sleep. They try to change their habits and then they burn out. Is there a better way to get started without crashing? What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. If you try to change everything at once, then it's probably not going to be sustainable.
Uh,
So, whenever we introduce changes in the diet or a new fitness program, we want to do it in a way that fits into our life. So then fitness can become a part of our life long term, as opposed to this fad or trend that we did for a couple months and then moved on to something else.
yeah, that's true. Now, do you see any other things on social media that are driving you nuts?
There are many claims for women specifically that
Oh,
they need to do things totally differently, that you have to only lift heavy loads, low reps, or you
whoa.
need different rest periods, or you have to lift only free weights. There's a lot of claims that make fitness and especially lifting really complicated and intimidating for women.
Yeah, I was going to actually ask you what your opinion is on this. Sometimes I go to the gym, right? And I'm working upper body most days, most days. But it feels like most females I see at the gym are working lower body almost every day. Am I just there on the wrong days? Are guys working their lower body when I'm not there? Are they afraid to show me? What do you think's going on?
Mm. There are definitely some guys that are skipping leg day, I think.
Oh, I'll get on them about it. I'll get on them about it. I don't skip leg day.
No, I sure you don't.
Yeah, I got good legs. But no, is there any truth on the other side? Do women focus more on the legs?
I think some do,
Oh, okay,
but
okay.
long term we really want to be training the whole body,
Right.
because we building muscle is not only about how we look, it's also going to improve our health and our long-term function as we age. So both are important. It can't just all be about the aesthetics.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Now, do you think women are afraid of getting bulky? I hear that a lot.
Yeah.
I wish I could get
Nobody ever
bulkier.
got bulky without trying really, really
Yeah, right.
hard.
I didn't get like this in 2 months. That's for sure. Took a long time. Took a long time to get here. But no, seriously though, do you set fitness goals for yourself?
I do.
Oh, cool.
Right now, I mean, my goal is really just to show up
Yeah.
consistently.
Yeah, that's a great goal. That's a great goal. How's it going?
It's going well. I
Good.
found that I will do an upper body pull, push, and then legs, and I
Oh,
kind of rotate through those. And I like that because I can have some shorter sessions, but go more frequently. And that works for me in terms of maintaining the consistency.
yeah. How long do you think people need to get in the gym? Just like 30 minutes? Does that work?
Yeah, I mean, we see that even if you're only going twice a week for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, that can be hugely beneficial. And
Oh,
then, of course, if we want to, improve from there and get even stronger and grow more muscle, then more can be helpful. But if you can just do 30 minutes twice a week, then that's awesome.
now if people wanted to find out more info, can you tell me a little bit about mass research review?
I can.
Nice.
I co-own Mass Research Review with 3 other PhDs.
Oh,
We
cool.
all have different areas of expertise. And every month we get the new papers that were recently published and we review them. And so we kind of break them down in a way that's actionable and translatable if you're a coach or if you're just a lifter, fitness enthusiast yourself. And we cut out the part where, you know, if you're a non-scientist, it might be difficult for you to interpret and critique and analyze some of that data. So we do it for you.
What's something recently that you researched that you were into?
I am writing now about training fasted because
Oh.
there is some information that's saying fasted training is terrible for women or terrible for women who are post-menopause. And we have data to refute those claims.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What's it
Because
saying?
it turns out that if you're somebody who prefers to train fasted, which many people do if they like to go early in the morning, right?
Right.
And that's perfectly fine because when we track people over a few months training fasted or eating before the workouts, they're gaining the same amount of muscle, they're losing the same amount of body fat.
Whoa, interesting. Now, for anyone out there feeling like they're starting too late or maybe moving too slow, what would you tell them about getting started or just continuing forward?
Well, the amazing thing about lifting weights is that it's so beneficial at any age.
Any
we
age.
see people in the lab, 80 years old, they're gaining muscle. 80?
Wow.
So it's never too late to start, and there are so many effective ways to do it. So any equipment you like, any rep range you like, any exercises you prefer, however you want to approach it, it will be extremely beneficial.
80. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. What do you think's on their playlist? What kind of music do you think they're listening to?
I feel like when I see much older people in the gym, they aren't listening to music.
No? Yeah, they're usually walking around talking to me, actually. I think about it now. Now that we're talking about it. That's usually what happens.
My 70-year-old mom will go and run on the treadmill and read a magazine. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. Yeah.
While running?
Or read the newspaper while running.
How does that work?
I have no idea.
Oh, you're going to have to quiz her afterwards. Ask her what she learned. See what she's talking about.
Yeah.
But what about you? What kind of music's on your playlist? I need some music. What do you got?
I recently was listening to the Tomorrowland playlist.
Tomorrowland?
So, yeah.
Whoa.
And sometimes I listen to podcasts at the gym as well.
Any good ones?
Well, I'll add this one to my playlist.
Nice. Yeah. And when this one comes out, we'll have to let everyone know. But no. Hey, Dr. Lauren, thank you so much for being a guest on Reppin Fitness.
Thank you for having me.
Now, where can people find you?
I'm on Instagram at Dr. Lauren CS1, and I host a podcast called Front Page Fitness with my co-host Eric Trexler, and we talk about funny and crazy headlines in health and fitness.
Can you give me one?
Yes, there was recently a man in Florida who was eating 9 sticks of butter and several pounds of cheese every day, and he started to have cholesterol leaking out of his hands.
What?
Yep.
I don't even know what to say.
We didn't know either, except, I mean, we had a very interesting discussion about how it was possible to eat this much cheese and, you know, in what form.
Is he okay? Is he okay now?
Well, funnily, he went to the emergency room and you know, he had the cholesterol leaking out of his hands, but he said, I feel great. You know, mental clarity is amazing. I've lost weight. So he had cholesterol of about 1,000, which is way too high.
Yeah.
But it seems like he's fine.
Hey, everyone watching at home, don't do that.
Don't do
that. No, don't do that. But hey, thanks again for being a guest.
Thank you.
And we'll see you on the next Repisode.